Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to call this meeting to order. We're here for Public Works, Tuesday, May 14th. We're going to start off with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Roberts.
Here.
Pettigrew.
Here.
Lehman.
Here.
Ham.
Here.
Roseland.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Motion by Roberts, second by Ham. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up is general public comment. I don't have any general public comment speakers. I have a couple for an item later we'll get to. So we're going to open and close that. We have consent items 1 through 10. Open and close public comment for that. No speakers for that. So would my colleagues like to pull anything, or I would entertain a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve items 1 through 10 by Ham, second by Roberts. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 11, authorize rapid transit system rapid ride route refresher, allowing staff to update the current rapid ride routes to produce efficiencies and to address growth within the fixed route system. And it is my understanding Megan is going to do a presentation for us today before we take any action.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me to do this for you. Okay. All right. So Rapid Transit Systems Rapid Ride Route Refresher project has been kind of in the works for the last couple of years since our transit development plan in 2022 was approved. In that plan, it was recommended that we do a route refresher to our fixed route system before thinking about any possible expansions in the future. So, just some basic information about Rapid Transit System. We have been in service since 1985 with our, 83 with our demand response program. In 85, we moved to actual minibuses, and then in 1992, the service was expanded to a fixed route service and our complementary paratransit. The Rapid Ride, which is our fixed route, which we will be discussing today, has 35-minute frequencies and operates within the city core and is provided transportation to a lot of convenient different locations. Our Dial a Ride is our curb-to-curb, door-to-door transportation service, and it is actually for those that are not able to access and utilize the fixed route system due to their disability. And that does follow the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1992. Okay, and this, like I said, basic information. The fixed route system is predetermined loops. There are 2 legs for a total of 12 different laps. Some of those laps include timed and or by request deviations. Anyone is eligible to utilize the fixed route system. All Rapid Ride buses are accessible, ADA accessible, as they include a ramp and they have the ability to kneel. The Rapid Ride fixed route system is not a school bus, but it does allow our Youth Ride Free program that has been in existence since 2016. Listed here are the general hours of operation Monday through Friday for both services, and then our Saturday operation, which we will kind of talk about later. The Rapid Ride Route Refresh is, like I said, basically recommended from the Transit Development Plan in 2022, but what they looked at is that as the city continues to grow, the city limits and all of building permits that are taking place, Rapid Transit System really has needed to implement how we are going to handle that growth. So we are beginning the process of updating our overall organization to be more efficient and to better accommodate the community. A route refresh of Rapid Ride routes was completed to address growth within the fixed route system. Like I said, per the 2022 Transit Development Plan, Rapid Transit System, and I mean that by my staff comments and their concerns, and then the public comment. Most of the changes made were minor changes to the segments, and then there are a few major updates within that. The minor changes to the segments, basically what it is to be more efficient. We took one segment of a route and swapped it with another segment of a different route to make it more efficient and have it make more sense. The main factors that were taken into consideration: safety, accessibility, redundancy, directness, and then legibility. The primary goal with this whole entire project is to make the fixed route more efficient and accessible so that we can prepare for possible expansion in the near future. Okay. We had a public comment period back in September on 2023. We had one day at the Pumpkin Festival, we had a booth, and then that following week, we had an entire week where people were able to come in, look at the route maps that were, that you guys will see today and provide comment on those and let us know what the thoughts and concerns were with those. We had a little bit of a turnout within the bus depot, and then I received a lot of email and letter requests. Some of the primary issues were expansion of our service hours and days. They want later evenings during the week, increased service hours on Saturdays, and then added Sunday services. Expanding the routes to meet city limits, increased frequency, and by that I mean currently right now we operate 35-minute frequencies. They want 15 to 20. Provide a route to a growing senior population neighborhood by Mountain View, Mount Calvary Cemetery. Provide routes to South Dakota One Stop Shop where DSS resides, Western Dakota Technical Institute, Veterans Affairs, new building out Highway 16, and a lot of the other healthcare facilities that also reside out there. One of the primary amount of comments received for a location is to provide closer access to Oyate Health Center and Monument Health Hospital. So I'm going to focus a little bit on the next two slides and to that last comment because the overwhelming amount of comments that were received during our comment period. Oyate Health Center, so based on those comments, in collaboration in several meetings with Oyate Health Center, the community, city council, and the mayor, it was determined that a stop closer to the entrance was needed. 2 different locations on the east side have been determined. And a list here is basically some of the pros and cons of each location. It hasn't yet been decided on where to put the stop, but that is still currently in the works. So the pros on that red dot right there, so this is the east side of the building. So we would exit Canyon Lake Drive, drive up as you follow the arrows, and then depending on how we route it, drive across from north to south, and then we would go back down the hill and then exit the way we came in and catch our route back on Canyon Lake Drive. So that red dot provides the closest access possible. Some of the cons in that actual area are safety, turning radius. We will have to test our bus to make sure we can make it. The vehicles blocking, which affects route time, can be a problem to be solved. And then the construction of that actual location. There is a little bit of work, but not a lot that would need to be done. And then we would hopefully be able to put a temp stop that is a little bit further away. And down at the bottom of that map, you see a yellow square. That location is where the temporary stop would be. The green location, it is pro, safe, straight path to the front. Time effective, which means that the chances of a vehicle blocking our access would be very minimal. The cons, it is further away from the front door. And then the construction for that location would take longer. And then that temp stop is further away, just like the top one. All right, now we're going to talk about Monument Health in the same sense that they've requested closer access. So same type of situation, many meetings with Monument Health, City Council, and the mayor and the community. It was determined that we need it closer. At the top of that map on the north end, there's a red square. That's where our stop currently is. As you go down south from that, you will see the first option, which is what we would like to do is provide a cutout. So basically there would be a bus lane right there. The issues with that are that there are, the construction of it will take time. Crosswalk interference, there's a fire hydrant, a couple light poles, so those would all have to be moved. The pros, we would have the closer access. The sidewalk is right there where people can connect to it, and there's a pad available for a shelter. The second option, if you go just directly south of that final red box, the pros to that location, there's no light poles, there's no crosswalk interference. The cons, it's further access, and then we would have to figure out the safest approach for riders to cross the parking lot entrance. The third option is we leave everything the way it is, no construction is completed, and you go back up to that middle red box where the utilities are and the crosswalk highlighted there, and we just add a stop. The problem with that, obviously, crosswalk interference, our bus would block other drivers' views of that crosswalk. Now I'm going to just kind of briefly run through these, and these are the primary changes to each of these routes and how it affects it. The Borglum route, Jackson Boulevard, we changed the segment between West Foreman and Jackson Boulevard to be updated and provide access to the neighborhood, Mountain View and Mount Calvary Cemetery, and removes a safety hazard for our buses, which we end up having to deviate around anyways when there's inclement weather on Sheridan Lake Road going up and over that hill. I do want to make note that there is a correction to this, that West Main one actually needs to be up on Jackson Boulevard. I apologize about that. West Main actually had no changes whatsoever. Oops, sorry. Okay, so these are the route maps. They're kind of hard to read, but if you want to really look at them and understand them, please reach out to me. So this is the Jackson Boulevard one. This is the one where we would be going to doing the deviation up to Oyate Health, and then the Mountain View over to Jackson. In that section of Mountain View and Sheridan Lake Road, we actually wouldn't be missing any current stops, but we would be adding more to our routes. Borglum West Main, no changes. Coolidge, our northbound, we would actually be driving Anamosa Street from Luna Drive to Silver Street, both directions. Right now, we only go one direction. The southbound, it would be the same situation with Fifth Street from Columbus to Stumer Road. So that just gives them more access to Fifth Street and Anamosa. And this is kind of what it would look like. Jefferson route is one of the biggest ones that we have changed. These would be considered the major route changes. So Jefferson Northeast, this one would be providing access to Community Health Center, feeding South Dakota, not direct access to there, but it would be on the same side of the street versus now they have to cross, what is that? Over there by Rushmore Crossing, I can't remember. Yeah, there you go. And with food and everything in tow, it's a little bit hard for people. Menard shopping area, and then the Shepherd Hills development. The Jefferson Southeast would be providing access to Western South Dakota Community Action Agency, Rural America Initiative, Emergency Vet Hospital, Western Dakota Technical Institute, and Shepherd Hills Development. So this is the northeast one. Up there to the north, you can see how it goes on North Creek Drive. That's the Menards area, and that's the part that's kind of changed for the most part. And then the Jefferson Southeast, this one does a stretch from Mount Rushmore Road all the way to Highway 44 on St. Patrick Street, and then comes in Highway 44 to Western Dakota Tech and turns on Mickelson and takes the back way into Anamosa and North Street. Lincoln, not a lot of changes here, except for the fact that now we are going to be providing access to South Dakota's one-stop shop on Mall Drive. So we will actually be driving Mall Drive versus dropping them off at the closest location right now, which is Best Buy. Also, we will be going to South Dakota Department of Labor every single time we do this lap. Southbound had no changes, so here's what it would look like. And it's the north that is the major change up there. And then Lincoln southbound. And then Roosevelt, this part had a little bit more of a change than most of the other routes as well, but not as much as Jefferson. The northeast is going to be able to access, and I apologize, I can't pronounce this very well, Ganungska? Thank you. And that's all, that goes further back into Lakota Homes. And right now we do go to Lakota Homes, but this would take us even further back, providing access. We have a couple riders that actually live towards the end of that location, and they have to walk quite a ways just to get to a bus stop. And then Ogallala, Lakota College, and then the southeast will be accessing behavior management and Central High School. So you'll see that. And then there's the southeast. Washington, not a lot. We will be accessing Uptown Rapid Shopping Mall and multiple restaurants up there. What we kind of did with that northbound is we reflected it to match more of what the Lincoln northbound would look like. The only difference between the two really is that Lincoln goes north of the mall and Washington goes south of the mall. And then the southbound is similar to the Lincoln southbound, just in the opposite direction. And there's the maps for those. Next steps, if this is approved by City Council, we will be going out and retiming our routes, determining stop locations with GPS coordinates so we can get them into like Google Maps and meet federal transportation guidelines as far as our bus stop coordinations. We will probably do a public comment for the new stop locations, get more information. Driver comment period. We will update signs, stop announcements, websites, and route maps. We'll change out all of the signage for every single bus stop we have. And then we will announce an official implementation date, and then we will implement. I am here to take questions for anyone that has any. Otherwise, like I said, if you would like to request closer view of those maps, you can contact me at either of these contact methods.
Thank you, Megan. Any comment from my colleagues? Megan, would you mind emailing this to all the council so we can have access
Definitely.
to this?
Yeah.
That'd be great. I appreciate it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion on the item. Seeing no comment. Motion approved by Roseland, second by Roberts. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12, request from Advanced Design Engineering and Surveying for an exemption to allow for more than 40 dwelling units with only one point of access per section 2.6 of the Infrastructure Design Criteria Manual. A single access can serve only 40 dwelling units unless an exemption is approved by City Council. Staff recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Motion by Roberts, second by Ham. All in favor? Item 13, request from Advanced Design Engineering to waive the requirement to install sidewalk along Countryside Boulevard, unnamed street, access easement, and section line right-of-way per City Ordinance 16.16.050. Staff recommendation is to approve variance for access easement and section line right-of-way, and no recommendation for Countryside Boulevard and unnamed street. Shannon, you have something?
Clarify on the last item, was it to approve the variance or approve with stipulations?
With stipulations, my apologies.
Thank you.
Any discussion or a motion on item 13?
Chairman. I just
Mr.
want to, Roger Hall, City Engineer, I just want to clarify why we moved it forward with no recommendations. The Pennington County Planning has recognized the need for sidewalks out there, and Pennington County Highway doesn't want them. It's within our 3-mile jurisdiction, so at this point, it's, planning wants them, and we're not on either side of that fence, so. That's why there's no recommendation from our staff.
Move to approve a variance for access easement and section line right-of-way.
Motion on the floor from Ham is to approve the variance for access easement and section line right-of-way. Second by Roberts. All in favor on the motion? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Does that close the item, Shannon? Okay. Item 14, request from Development Engineering Consultants LLC to waive the requirement to install sidewalk along Dias Avenue per City Ordinance 12.08.060. Mr. Roberts will be abstaining from this. Did you wish to speak on anything, John? Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Pettigrew.
Second with stipulations.
Second motion to approve by Pettigrew with stipulations. Second by Ham. All in favor? Aye. One no from Roseland, and Mr. Roberts is abstaining, so 3-1. Motion passes. I'm going to open the public comment period that I forgot to open for item 15 because I do have 2 speakers on that item. I'm going to start up here with Cale McNabo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, my name's Cale McNabo. I own Long Branch Civil Engineering here in town. Thanks for the opportunity to speak on this. What we're looking at is Prairie Meadows South subdivision, which is up off of Country Road where the current Country Road lift station exists. And if I can get a Little help turning on the projector here.
I think Mr. Gilbert's working on that. He got up anyway.
I'd like to show an example of what we're talking about, the area of the exception. Thank you. So what we're looking at is, this is Country Road, existing Country Road, and this would be future Lacrosse Street. This is Prairie Meadows South subdivision. The Country Road lift station currently exists in this location. We've made a design exception, or we've submitted a design exception to not construct Lacrosse Street in this location, including the water, sewer, curb and gutter, asphalt, the typical of street construction standards. It's been partially approved and partially denied. The part that was approved was to not construct the water and the sewer, because the water and sewer, including the oversized sewer main, will exist within the subdivision. And the water will be brought in within the subdivision on a road that closely parallels what would be future Lacrosse Street. The part that is required within that partial approval of the stipulation is to build the embankment for Lacrosse Street and to construct the curb and gutter and 20 foot of asphalt pavement. So what I've done is I've gone through and taken a look at basically the corridor for future Lacrosse Street, what the vertical profile would look like of future Lacrosse Street, and then ran a grading template on it to see just how far the fill slope would have to extend off of the property. And for reference, if you look at this edge right here, where these contours pull off right there at the top of that slope, that would be the property line. Jonathan Looper is here, and he's the owner of Prairie Meadows South subdivision. And Mr. Looper owns the property to approximately that location. And this scenario then would show curb and gutter and asphalt on his half, the property that he owns. And on the other side would be a fill slope, because obviously this future Lacrosse Street is built up in the air quite a significant distance. So when you look at that, what we'd be talking about is obtaining an easement on the adjoining property. And I apologize, I labeled it 33 feet. This road would have to have a shoulder on it, so that would most likely be closer to 40 foot of temporary construction easement to be able to construct the embankment for future Lacrosse Street. It would also include some storm sewer extensions, because the storm water right now comes through in this location. And we would need to obtain a 50 by approximately 80 foot major drainage easement to accommodate these improvements. So I'm here to really demonstrate the feasibility of constructing what was requested. But to be able to perform those activities, there's a lot of, I would say, off-site style improvements that are going to be required to do it. The acquisition of permanent major drainage easements and temporary construction easements. And with that, I guess Mr. Looper, the owner, is going to be the next up to speak. But I guess our request would be then to approve the partially denied exception 24EX013. And if you have any questions, I'll stick around to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Kel. And you are correct. Mr. Looper is the next up to speak.
Hi, my name's Jonathan Looper. I represent the Ameris Group, owns the development side there. So as was mentioned already, we had put in a request to not construct the road there. There's multiple reasons we put that request in. Number one, he spoke to the feasibility of actually doing that. Currently, Lacrosse does not come through to this section, and I realize that the city has plans on doing that at some point in the future, but that road does not go through at this time. So if we were to do the partially constructed road, we would basically have half of a road sitting there for who knows how long. So the feasibility, it doesn't make sense on the one side. Monetarily wise, it does not make sense for our project. The goal of this development project is to do low-income housing. And in order to make that happen, the cost of just this portion for the exception for just building this portion of it is approximately $500,000. And there are 14 lots adjacent to that in Phase 5 of this project, and that would equal approximately $35,000 cost to each of those lots to construct. It would make it not feasible to do in the first place, never mind trying to do a low-income housing with it. So I guess my argument is it's not feasible. The road does not currently even reach the property line there. And also the money-wise for the project, it does not make sense for us on that side. I also want to mention the owner to the east, the property to the east is here as well. My understanding is that property is a farm currently, and just these improvements, if we call them that, the embankment, et cetera, that would be on their property would adversely affect their farm. And they can speak if they want to in regards to that, and we're not affiliated in any way, and he may have something to say, he may not, I don't know. But this would require getting easements from them. They don't have, and they're welcome to speak too, but they don't have a desire to give easements. They would just like to continue using the property, to my understanding. So that's the other aspect, I guess I'm arguing, that it's not feasible on any level at this time from the way that I see it. I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Looper. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment period. Item 15, appeal of partially denied exemption 24EX013 from Jonathan Looper on behalf of Ameris Group to waive the requirement to install water main, storm sewer pavement, curb and gutter, streetlight conduit in North Lacrosse Street as part of the required subdivision improvements. Staff recommendation is to deny. And would any of my colleagues like to jump in on this first? Mr. Ham?
Could I just hear from the staff as to what the rationale for denial was? Is there someone?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilman. We looked at this. La Crosse is on our major street plan to connect through, and we know there are several developments going on in the area. We have pulled the profile on the street. It is constructible. We felt that this was a good compromise for them to build half of the roadway. One thing you should note, though, that this isn't a section line right-of-way, so this is all future improvements. If we don't build this first 20 feet and get this done, eventually it'll fall onto the taxpayers to construct this. The grading, the other concern I have is if we don't plan now for this roadway and grade accordingly, when they build these houses in there, eventually we'll have to go back to every one of these homeowners and say, hey, we're gonna have to grade up into your yards to build this future roadway. So that's part of the reason we want it built right now. Along with being on the major street plan, an anticipated necessary connection from south to north here. And we think we'll see the next leg of this to the south come forward in the next year to two. We're seeing some action on that area to the south. So, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Ham, did you have anything else for Roger? Mr. Roseland? I'm trying to. I think Jim and I are both hitting the button at the same
here we
time.
go.
Well, he's trying,
I got you.
all right.
My question is, in the future, if they build half the animals or La Crosse Street there, how much of that would have to be demolished when you add the other half?
That's an excellent question. We think with proper engineering design, it would not have to be. As Kale clearly pointed out, the sewer is coming up through the subdivision and the water is also. With these storm sewer improvements, we think if it's designed correctly by the engineer and laid out, that this will be half of the future roadway. Remember, this will be an arterial up through here, so it's a major connection north to south. Haynes is just a short distance to the west there, and it would alleviate some of the traffic off of that in the future. And along with that, we're also are looking at the Country Road reconstruction in the future sometime. As anybody's driven up there lately knows that Country Road is deteriorating, and we need to look at that. I believe it's in our next 5 years to be looking at that.
Thank you much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Roseland. Mr. Ham again.
Maybe, you might be able to answer this, Stacy. Is this something that is not budgeted for right now? So we couldn't do the other half right now? Is that what I'm understanding?
I don't think it is budgeted right now. I don't think it's on our 5-year CIP. I don't believe I know La Crosse is not, and I think if Country Road is, it's out 5 years, so. But La Crosse is not in our 5-year plan right now. So we do rely on the developers, and the model we have is to make our improvements to our system as they build adjacent to it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pettigrew.
I make a motion to approve denial, please.
A motion to deny the appeal.
I would, the motion is to approve the staff recommendation to deny.
Okay. So motion to deny the appeal from the applicant by Mr. Pettigrew. Don't have a second on that yet. Mr. Roberts, if you'd like to chime in.
I would make a second to move this to council without recommendation. If I can, or I would, if I
A
can get a
substitute
second on
motion
it.
for Mr. Roberts to move to council without recommendation. Second by Ham on that one. Mr. Pettigrew, your motion dies for lack of a second. So the motion is to move to council without recommendation.
And I want to ask
And
the
Mr. Roberts has the
developer,
floor.
I don't want to talk to you, I want to ask the developer a question. Just kidding. Or whoever wants to, you could, Kale, you can answer this too, maybe, I don't know. So when you said today that this is low-income housing, that's the first time I've heard of that. I heard it was affordable housing. So can you delineate between the two for me?
I'm not sure, everyone's got a different definition of that, but our goal is, our target cost for houses finished is $325 or less.
Okay,
So
okay.
wherever that, once they're actually built, wherever that actually lands, that's our current goal.
I think that's a stretch to say that's low income.
Currently,
I think
yes,
it's
I would say
affordable, but
so.
I think it's a huge stretch to say that's low income. That was my question. That's the only question I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. So the motion on the floor and seconded is to move to council without recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Motion to adjourn by Roberts, second by Ham. All in favor? And we're adjourned. Thank you.